What you're witnessing right now isn't just another policy move. This is a strategic kill shot, okay? President Donald J. Trump just dropped a tariff nuke on Canada, 35% across the board, and within hours, Canada's pipeline dreams are dead in the water, just gone. Their entire energy strategy obliterated. Why? Because Trump gave them a choice: fair trade or pay the price. And Carney, well, Carney blinked. Now, Canada's scrambling, they're panicking, and they're already losing billions. But that's just the first wave. Wait until you see what happens next, because back here at home, Jerome Powell's Federal Reserve is unraveling fast. Leaked reports say Jerome Powell could resign any day now after a $2.5 billion Fed headquarters scandal and growing backlash over sky-high interest rates crushing the middle class. Guys, and wait until you hear what the Fed's been hiding from you. Secret meetings, luxury palaces, and an interest rate scam. It is literally costing you trillions. So we're going to expose how President Trump's 35% tariff backed Canada into a corner and ultimately killed their entire pipeline before it even began. The shocking real reason that Jerome Powell may be forced out, plus how his mismanagement is bankrupting America, and the truth about the Fed's cartel-style control over your future and Trump's quiet war to take it all down. Now, this is not just a headline. This is a power shift, guys. And today you're going to be asking yourself, should we even have a Federal Reserve? Was Trump right to go scorched earth on Canada? And what happens if we don't follow through? Well, what you're about to hear may make you angry. I just want to warn you, it may make you choose sides, but it will change how you see everything, anywhere from trade policy to global power, okay? And in the next 10 minutes, let's just say this might just explain why the world is tilting in Trump's favor and ultimately collapsing under everybody else. By the way, if you appreciate this update, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and get something straight right out the gate. This is not Biden's America anymore, okay? Today, President Donald J. Trump is the president, and under this leadership, the United States is no longer sitting back while foreign governments rob our farmers, our workers, and our economy blind. The globalists panicking, the Fed imploding, and Canada, they just took a punch to the gut that may actually knock out their entire energy sector. Now, Trump is not playing defense anymore, okay? He's on the offense. He's rebalancing a trade system that's been rigged against America for decades, okay? And he's holding people accountable who were never supposed to be questioned. But the story doesn't end with a tariff, because what's happening right now is about to shake the entire financial system. Now, stick with me, because I want to walk you through this play by play. Who got hit, why they deserved it, and what is about to fall next, okay? Now, let's talk about this kill shot. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and start with the kill shot. That wasn't leaked. This wasn't floated. This was delivered straight to Prime Minister Mark Carney's desk, personally signed by President Trump. Starting August 1st, we will charge Canada a tariff of 35% on all products sent into the United States. If you retaliate, we'll raise it higher. That wasn't a suggestion. That was evidently a clear red line. Now, let's be very clear about this. This wasn't random. This was a strategic retaliation. Trump cited two very clear reasons in the letter. One, Canada's failure to stop fentanyl from flowing across the border. And two, their outrageous decision to retaliate against U.S. tariffs instead of cooperating to fix the problem. That was not very smart on Canada's behalf, or at least Canada's leadership. Now, and shout out to all my Canadian audience out watching the YouTube channel right now. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. And it's not your fault, but unfortunately, your leadership is just not making smart moves here. Here's what President Trump made very clear, crystal clear if you ask me. If Canada and Canadian companies want to avoid the tariff, they can move their operations here, build it in America, sell it in America, and then they won't have to pay a tariff, period. It's a fair deal, right? But Carney didn't lose a trade argument. He just watched his entire pipeline proposal lose the investment that it needed to survive. And if you think that this is only about tariffs, wait until you see what Trudeau and now Carney are hiding from the public this whole time. Now, I'm going to get to that in just a second, but first, I want to pull back the curtain on the real hypocrisy that's triggered this strike in the first place. Now, this is the one that no media outlet wants you to hear about, okay? Let's talk about Canada's 300% dairy tariffs and the economic betrayal that Trump just exposed. Now, most people wait until it's way too late, until the bill comes in, until the medication gets denied, until the doctor tells you, hey, your coverage won't pay for that. Well, you don't have to wait, guys. You can get ahead of this right now, just like Jamie from Texas did. She reached out, a little bit skeptical, but she was desperate for help. Chapter, she looked at her plan, spotted the gaps, and helped her switch to something that saved her $600. Guys, that is $600 a year back in Jamie's pocket. Now, I partnered with Chapter because they move fast. They care, they fix things, they're free, and they don't wait until something breaks. Now, just think about how much you or your parents could benefit from a company that's like this, totally free, and they do everything in their power to help you save money on your Medicare. Give our friends at Chapter a call right now. Phone numbers down below, or better yet, visit them on their website at askchapter.org/Ron, and let Chapter give you a real second opinion on that. Totally free. Link in the pinned comment down below. So let's talk fairness, shall we? Because while the media is screaming about Trump's dangers, they go dead silent when it comes to the real economic betrayal that's been happening for years. Did you know that Canada charges United States farmers, U.S. farmers, a 300% tariff on basic dairy goods like butter and cheese? 300%. Guys, that means if you're an American farmer, maybe you know an American farmer or you feel for them, and you produce cheese, milk, butter, yogurt, anybody eat any of those things? Duh. You're effectively blocked from selling it from China or in China. Your goods are too expensive, they're non-competitive, and they end up being pushed off the shelves. Meanwhile, Canadian dairy goods flood into American grocery stores with no barriers at all. That's right, guys. They get full access to our shelves while locking us out of theirs. Is that fair to you? So the real question becomes, why is it okay for Canadian farmers to thrive here in America while American farmers suffer over there? Does that make any sense? For all of my Canadian viewers right now, I'm not trying to pick sides here, but does that sound fair? Like, Canadian farmers can sell here with no penalty, no tariff, but American farmers can't sell in Canada without getting hit with a 300% tariff. Like, wouldn't it be fair to just either be like, hey, if you don't charge a tariff, we won't charge a tariff. Or if you're going to charge a tariff, we'll charge the same tariff. Wouldn't that be more fair? Anyway, y'all let me know. And so Trump, he didn't just call it out. He took a sledgehammer to it. No more one-sided trade. No more protecting farmers while ours go bankrupt. Now, I apologize. I'm trying to get over something right now. Sorry about that. If you care about American agriculture, if you care about the people who work sun up to sun down just to put food on their table and your table, this tariff wasn't just fair. It was long overdue, right? But that 35% hit, it didn't just disrupt Canada's grocery exports. It just wrecked the foundation of their most ambitious energy plans in decades. I want to show you how, okay? Canada's newly elected Prime Minister, Mark Carney, I don't know how many of you guys like this guy, but he recently made headlines when he promised a bold new initiative. This is a massive east to west pipeline connecting Canadian oil with, from coast to coast. Now, Carney called it highly likely. Those are his words, okay? His energy minister hyped it up as a solution to dependency on U.S. refineries. But here's the thing. It's already dead. Why? Because Trump's 35% tariff just choked off Canada's only profitable oil customer, the United States. Canada exports 77% of everything that they produce to the United States. This includes over 20% of their entire GDP. Now, when President Trump issued that tariff ultimatum, every investor watching that pipeline and the pipeline deal, they backed off. Because without the U.S. market, the math just doesn't work. As they say, the math ain't mathing. So former Trump Energy Secretary Dan Brulette, he said it best. He said, unless private capital steps up, this pipeline dies a slow death just like all the others before it. And guess what? Private investors don't want to touch it now. Not after Biden killed Keystone XL, not with the possibility of another Democrat president doing it again. Trump just didn't want to stop the pipeline directly. He made it financially impossible for it to exist. So now Carney is flailing. Picture a guy who is like in the middle of the ocean and can't swim, and he doesn't have a life vest or any floaties. He's just flailing out there. He doesn't even know what to do. He is scrambling to sign trade deals with the EU, hoping that Europe can somehow replace the revenue that he just lost from Trump's strike. But spoiler alert, Europe isn't even going to come to save them, okay? Europe is not going to help him out. So I want to break down how Trump just cornered Canada and how their strategy to wait him out is about to blow up in their face. Also, we're also going to dive into what's happening back here at home, because while Canada's collapsing economically, Jerome Powell's Federal Reserve is spiraling into its own crisis and it's getting ugly. Powell, corruption, overspending. The real reason that Powell's days at the Fed may be numbered, we're going to talk about that right now. So I don't want to pretend that this was a surprise. For 8 long years under Biden and Trudeau, Canada enjoyed sweetheart access to the U.S. market. No tariffs, no accountability, and no consequences. And when Trump stepped back into office, he made them a fair, open-handed offer. Give our farmers the same access we give yours. You want fair trade? Let's have real fair trade. Both ways, both directions, same time, right? So I apologize, guys. But what did Canada do? They retaliated. They slapped their own tariffs on American goods. And now they're stunned that Trump hit back harder. But here's what they did not expect, okay? President Trump is not bluffing, and this is not temporary. Prime Minister Carney Prime Minister Carney's new plan is to diversify, is what he's saying, okay? He just signed a deal with the EU, hoping Europe can replace American buyers. Do you think that's possible? Do you think that's realistic though? And under President Trump, Main Street is finally on the rise again, because this industrial revolution is not just a comeback. This is a reckoning. The farmer, the welder, the truck driver, tool maker, the forgotten American, the one who actually keeps this country running, they're getting a voice back. And speaking of getting their voice back, I'm about to lose mine. I'm just trying to get over something. Stick with me, guys. Pray for me, please. And while globalist CEOs panic in Davos, the message from the White House is clear. We're not outsourcing our future. We're building it right here at home. President Donald J. Trump, he's back in the White House, and America's real economy is finally coming back online. But behind the headlines, a brand new kind of digital infrastructure is rising. So while Biden, the bureaucrats, and the globalists tried to shut down our economy and our energy independence, one company found a way to turn America's forgotten gas fields into Bitcoin, AI, and computing power. A company that doesn't ask for permission, doesn't rely on foreign oil, and doesn't bend to Wall Street. If Trump's America First energy plan had a tech partner, this might just be it. Now, today's video is sponsored by AgriForce Growing Systems, traded on the NASDAQ under ticker symbol AGRI. And trust me, you're going to want to hear this. So let me ask you something. What's the #1 bottleneck for America's future? Well, I'll tell you what, it's not talent. It's not innovation. It's not even capital. It's energy, guys. President Trump, he understands this better than anybody. And so this is why he brought back drilling. He reopened gas leases and slammed the door on globalist green scams. And AgriForce, ticker symbol AGRI, they're putting that vision into action. They're converting stranded, wasted natural gas into mobile, off-grid digital infrastructure. And they're doing it fast, like efficiently and independently. No permits, no grid dependency, just results. In Alberta and Ohio, they're already running high-efficiency Bitcoin mining rigs and decentralized AI compute, all powered by gas that used to be flared into the sky and just lost forever. This is made possible through their partnership with Blue Flare Energy. Now, this is a leader in the gas to power innovation that helps AgriForce deploy fast, mobile, off-grid infrastructure where others just can't. So this is energy turned into value, waste turned into wealth. And this is just the beginning. President Trump's comeback isn't just about jobs and borders. It's about dominating the digital battlefield too. From AI to blockchain to sovereign data systems, the war for compute power is on. AgriForce's new division, Tariff Digital, is answering that call. They're building mobile, modular Bitcoin AI campuses with vertically integrated control. Guys, they own their own land. They control the energy. They deploy the infrastructure. This means speed, security, total independence. And it's not just Bitcoin. Their sites are AI ready. They're optimized for edge computing, even designed to reuse heat for food production and industrial co-location. So while tech giants rely on fragile grids and ESG nonsense, Tariff Digital is building real infrastructure with real power off-grid, off Wall Street, and on mission. Exactly the kind of bold innovation that would make President Trump proud. Now, get this, guys. I want to talk numbers real quick. Agriforce, they have already mined 7 Bitcoin to date, and they're just getting started. Their strategy, mine and hold, buy and hold. They keep up to 50% of all mined Bitcoin in their treasury, and they've committed to using 50% of capital raised to acquire even more Bitcoin. This is a digital reserve strategy backed by real American energy, not some fiat nonsense. And by Q1 of 2026, they aim to scale to 1 exahash per second of total compute. That's major league hash rate on par with some of the biggest mining firms in the US. But here is the kicker. They're not doing it without grid dependence. So that means fewer delays, fewer regulations, and more freedom to scale in President Trump's new economy. So I want to go ahead and repeat this key component here. They're doing it without grid dependence. This is huge. Almost no one else is doing this. And so here is the bottom line. Agriforce, ticker symbol AGRI, they're building the kind of energy-backed decentralization infrastructure that we need in a post-globalist America. They're tapping into what President Trump always said was the greatest advantage: our energy, our land, our independence. So if you believe in Bitcoin, AI, energy freedom, and the return of American greatness, this is a company that you should absolutely have on your radar. Now, once again, they trade under ticker symbol AGRI on the NASDAQ, and they are the official sponsor of today's video. Now, just to be clear, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not investment advice. Always do your own due diligence before investing in any company. But when a company is building off-grid compute with American energy while Trump's back in office, it definitely caught my attention. So smash the like button, drop energy wins in the comments, and stay tuned because you're going to love what's coming next. Now, but here's the harsh reality. 77% of Canadian exports go to the United States. That's over 20% of their GDP. You don't diversify away from that. You depend on that. You see, it's too big of a percentage. That's what I'm saying here. Anyone with 2 brain cells rubbed together can see that. And this isn't just about trade. This is about economic survival. And Mark Carney knows it. This is why his ministers are stammering on camera. That's why their business sector is in panic mode right now. And this is why their pipeline proposal is already dead before it even began. Trump didn't just corner Canada. He proved how weak they really are without America. And while Mark Carney's scrambling, the storm brewing back here at home may be even bigger. Now, let's go ahead and shift to the second half of this political earthquake because Canada wasn't the only one essentially put on notice this week. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. In fact, he got a nickname. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, or excuse me, they call him Fed Chair Jerome Too Late Powell. He may finally be on his way out. Would anybody be happy to see Jerome Powell resign? If you would like to see him resign, just say resign. All morning, DC insiders have been whispering that Powell's resignation is imminent. Why? Because President Trump has been demanding accountability, and Powell has been resisting it for way too long. And now it's all catching up to him. So I want to ask you a question. Why are mortgage rates still sky high, even though inflation is finally at 2%, the Fed's own target that they set? Why are credit card payments, car loans, business loans still crushing families and job creators? Meanwhile, the Fed sits on its hands. Well, it's not just incompetence, it's arrogance, and Trump has had enough. White House sources are now saying Trump's been pushing Powell to act for weeks, but instead Jerome Powell has continued to stall even as the economy weakens under interest rate. And then just yesterday, everything changed. The Federal Housing Finance Chief, PTE, publicly said he was encouraged by reports that Powell may step down and that it would be the right move for the economy. Now, does anyone agree with that? But that's not even the biggest bombshell here, because what you're about to hear in the next part that I want to share with you guys here, it could obliterate Jerome Powell's reputation for good. And I'm just going to tell you right now, a $2.5 billion luxury Fed headquarters, really? Funded, paid for with your tax dollars? Now reportedly $700 million over budget with VIP elevators, water gardens, and artwork inside? Really? This is just asinine. I hope you guys are equally as pissed as I am to hear that our money was wasted on that. Anyway, so while you were struggling with 8% mortgage rates, Jerome Powell was over here building himself a palace with your money. I want to take a break on that story, and I just really kind of want to blow that wide open because not enough people are talking about it, and definitely the mainstream media is not talking about it like they should be. And of course, after that, I want to show you the real reason that the Fed keeps holding interest rates high, even though inflation is gone, and how Trump's trying to dismantle their power from the inside out. So while everyday Americans are tightening their belts, cutting back on groceries and skipping vacations, and trying to survive 25% APR credit card rates, what was Jerome Powell doing? He was busy building a $2.5 billion Fed headquarters in Washington, D.C. That's not a typo. $2.5 billion with a B. If that wasn't a slap in the face enough, if that wasn't insulting enough, this taxpayer-funded monster is now over $700 million above budget. Why? Because Powell and his team kept adding stuff. They added gardens, they added private elevators, they added water features, and they added commissioned art pieces. What? Why? All while the Fed was running historic losses. That's right, guys. So for the first time in Federal Reserve history, they've been operating at a loss. And they still went ahead with their luxury project. Like, how stupid was that? Like, former officials are calling it a palace. Americans, they're calling it what it is. It's a slap in the face. President Trump, he's furious. He's mad. He's pissed off. Trump is a builder, right? Trump has run and owned and operated many successful construction companies, okay? He's a builder. He knows what costs what, right? So you can't get over on this guy. And it's not like he's just building houses or something like that. He builds commercial real estate. So he knows what prices. It's like, if I were to tell you if I were to tell you eggs are like $35, right? And you regularly shop at the grocery store, Walmart, Publix, Aldi, wherever you go, Costco, you'd say, Ron, you're crazy. That's not what it costs, right? Trump is the same way. He is a builder, so he knows what, materials cost. He knows what labor costs. And when he sees Washington elite spending like kings while Americans can't even afford homes, he knows what's going on. It's not economics, it's elitism. It's about inflation. It's about control. The Fed is out of control. Spending without accountability, operating behind closed doors, and setting the rules for 330 million Americans without even being elected by any of us. Did you elect Jerome Powell? Yes or no? Here's the part they don't want you thinking about. Let's talk about the interest rate lie. Right now, inflation's at 2%. That's exactly what the Fed claimed was their goal. So why is the federal funds rate still sitting at 4.5%? Why are you paying double what you should on home loans, credit card loans, and business financing, even though inflation is under control? Is anybody upset about that? Well, it's simple, because Jerome Powell refused to act. And the cost, it's staggering. Let me break it down for you. The Biden administration added over $8 trillion to the national debt. Most of that debt was short-term, which means it's now coming due. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent now needs to refinance $10 trillion in expiring debt over the next few years. So here's where it gets real. Every 1% in interest costs Americans another $500 billion. That's $500 billion just in interest every time Jerome Powell refuses to cut. You see why this is a massive problem? If Powell had dropped the rate by 3 points, that's $1.5 trillion in savings instantaneously. That money could go to rebuilding cities, cutting taxes, investing in American manufacturing, or just letting the people be able to breathe. How about that? But instead, we get a Fed that meets behind closed doors, delays action, blames inflation that's no longer there, and builds himself a monument in D.C. while pretending to fight for stability. Meanwhile, Trump's message has been rather clear. Lower the rates, cut the waste, help the people. But the Fed won't budge. So now they're feeling the pressure. Now, I want to expose the secretive nature of the Federal Reserve itself. Like, some people are saying that the Federal Reserve really shouldn't have even been there. They're not even a federal government. They're not a federal organization. How just 12 unelected bankers decide your financial future behind closed doors, and how Trump's challenge to their power might be the most important battle of his presidency. Now, I want to be blunt here, okay, guys? The Federal Reserve, the most powerful institution in America that nobody voted for. 12 unelected individuals. It's almost as bad as like the World Economic Forum. 8 private meetings a year and 0 public accountability. These are the people who determine how much your mortgage costs, what your credit card interest rate is, whether your small business survives or fails. They meet behind closed doors, hand down these decisions like royalty, they think they're kings, and then vanish back behind the shadows of Washington's elite circles. So the Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC, doesn't publish real-time meeting footage. It doesn't allow media in the room. It doesn't even answer to the public, and yet it controls your life more than Congress ever will. Is that democracy to you? That's not democracy. That is a financial cartel. And President Trump, he's the first president in decades with the guts to take it on directly. Now, for years, presidents have essentially tiptoed around the Fed, scared of rattling markets or upsetting Wall Street. Not Trump. He called them out by name. He pressured Powell publicly. He demanded rate cuts when they were necessary and accountability when it was lacking. And so now, as Jerome Powell flounders, we're seeing that pressure start to pay off. But if we want real reform, we have to understand how deep the corruption goes. The Fed was never even supposed to exist, guys. Back in 1913, little history lesson, back in 1913 during Christmas break, while most senators were home with their families, a small group of politicians and bankers quietly pushed through the Federal Reserve Act. No constitutional amendment, no public referendum, just a sleight of hand maneuver that ultimately gave private bankers control over the U.S. money supply. Let that sink in. One of the most powerful forces in the American economy was created without public input, without democratic consent, and with the sole purpose of giving the federal government unlimited borrowing power without market consequences. They called it a tool for stability. But in reality, guys, it was a shield for politicians to spend without restraint, while transferring the cost to the American people through inflation and interest. And it worked. Over the next century, the Federal Reserve devalued the US dollar by over 90%, enabled endless wars, massive deficits, reckless bailouts, and created the conditions for a boom-bust cycle that ruined millions of lives. You think I'm exaggerating? Well, here's a quote that says everything. "Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws." This was from Mayor Amschel Rothschild. Anybody ever heard of Rothschild? This is the mindset behind the Fed. And until now, no one in power has dared to challenge it head on. But Trump, he's not just challenging it. Trump is exposing it. And I'm going to go ahead and show you why this matters more now than ever before. Because everything that we're seeing, from Canada's collapse to the Fed's dysfunction, this is part of a bigger truth. The old system is dying, and Trump is building something better. So let's zoom out, okay? What we're seeing right now is not chaos, okay? This is dangerous. This is not even dangerous populism. And it's not some reckless war on institutions. No, this is correction. This is course reversal. This is Trump doing what no other leader had the guts to do. For decades, America bent over backwards to appease global partners. We gave up leverage. We opened our markets. We let elites run wild at the expense of the people who actually build this country. And what do we get? Canada blocking our farmers. The Fed building billion-dollar palaces while families drown in debt. A trade system where we lose and call it diplomacy. But Trump said no more. He hit back with 35% tariffs, not to trade or not to start a trade war, but to force fair trade. He exposed Canada's dependence on American consumers and their inability to survive without us. He forced a conversation that the media tried to bury for years. Why should foreign farmers get rich while our farmers go bankrupt? Why should 12 unelected bankers dictate your financial future? Why should any nation or institution have unchecked power over the American people? I mean, you see, Trump's not just reshaping foreign policy. He's rebalancing the scales for you, for your family, and for your future. And the people who scream the loudest, they're the ones that are losing control because the system that they built is finally being held accountable. So now the question shifts to you. Do you really believe that it's fair for Canadian farmers to get full access to U.S. markets while our farmers face a 300% tariff just to sell a stick of butter? Do you think 12 unelected elites should decide when your mortgage drops or your credit card explodes behind closed doors with no accountability? Do you believe Trump was right to strike back and strike hard? Because here's the truth, guys. We're not just watching history. You're a part of it. So what we do now determines what America looks like in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years from today. Do we go back to weakness or do we keep building strength? Do we hand power back to unelected globalists? Do we stand with President Trump, who's finally fighting for fairness? I want you to drop your answer in the comments down below. Give me a hashtag fair trade now if you stand with Trump's tariff correction. Give me a hashtag fire the Fed if you think Jerome Powell's reign has gone on for long enough. And if you think that this video was powerful, wait until you see what just dropped next. Now, YouTube is recommending a video right now that takes everything we discussed and pushes it even further. It's about to pop up on your screen over here. Click it, watch it, and see just how deep this war for economic justice really goes, because Trump is just getting started.